Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we're talking about how to spot bad UX jobs, so if that interests you, then keep watching and consider subscribing to help support the community. Once again, this video is based on my experiences and it's subjective. What I think is bad may be good to somebody else and they'll thrive in it, but there are a few flags that I've seen that worry me when I start to look for a new UX job and take a new role, so I thought I would share them. The first question is, why are you hiring at the moment? You may want to kind of figure that out for the company that you're thinking about if you see a job role. And is it because the company is booming and that's awesome and they need all this new talent to support it? Or did they chase the last designer away kicking and screaming into the night? I have definitely been hired after a company hired another designer who left after a few short months, and I clearly saw why. It was tough to stick it out, but I would say that that's probably a red flag. So my first red flag for you is look to see if there's a high attrition or turnover rate. Number two, low budget or low ball offers. This is pretty common. If you feel passionate about it and if it's for a nonprofit or something, there's a reason why the budget is so low and it makes sense, then I give it more slack. But I find that if you're underpaying somebody for design, it's just a symptom of a larger issue of design not being valued or respected in the company. You can go onto Glassdoor and ask on blind if you get an offer to see if that is at market rate, and you can filter by your location and experience for some of these. Red flag number 3 for me is if you're looking at a role where you report to either marketing or engineering. I always ask this question during an interview for an in-house design role. Who my team is, how big it is, where are those people located, who does the role report to, what's the chain of command, who does my manager report to, something like that. And the only acceptable answer to me is that they are reporting to design, because reporting to marketing or engineering sways the power too much, in my opinion, for the designer to have a say and to be set up for success. My red flag number 4 is that you're the first designer that they're hiring, or you're only one of a few. And this can be exciting if you want to lead a team and if you have a lot of experience, but if you're new, I would watch out. It can be really rough working with a team that's never worked with a designer before, because you may have to do a lot of work from scratch, from the ground up, and there might be a lot of expectation setting and bumps along the road and education that needs to happen. My 5th red flag is that your team or your key stakeholders are all somewhere else. This can be really rough. There are plenty of companies with global teams, but if you really want to avoid a situation where you have a bottleneck in your team because it's too remote and there's an unreachable time zone, I personally hate this one a lot, because I'd like to have regular hours, and I hate being stuck waiting around for a reply to an email I sent out because the decision maker is in another time zone sleeping right now, so that's another one to ask about. Number 6 is they don't seem to care about accessibility. This is often a giveaway to a company that doesn't have a mature design process in the US. Accessibility isn't as much of a staple in some other parts of the world, but if I interview with a US-based company that obviously has an issue with accessibility in their product or website, and I don't feel like they care about it, then it isn't even a good fit for me morally. Red flag number 7, there are no strong design principles in the company, or they cannot be articulated or described to you what the design philosophy is like when you ask the person you're interviewing with. Once again, if you're seasoned and you want to help the company build out what the design process and the design system should stand for, and you feel really passionate about that, by all means. But personally, I want to build really good products, and that takes time. So when you spend a lot of time building the foundation to the design maturity, it takes away some of the time for anything else. So that's not always set up for success to build great products. Red flag number 8, weird or tight timelines. This is more for freelancing work, but yeah, if people want things ASAP, or if they just generally are late to an interview call, or the timelines don't make sense to you, pay attention to that. When you freelance, it's easy to waste too much time on clients that are really difficult and not worth your time. You want a client that you can work with that respects the time that you put into your work. Red flag number 9, they're a startup that doesn't have a lot of runway. What does that mean? I live in the land of startups, and I have startup experience, and I get approached by recruiters all the time trying to hire somebody for their startup or a startup. But when you dig into it, you need to kind of look at the math. Do they have a viable product? Is there enough cash flow to sustain them? Did they have a few runs of seed funding from VCs? Or are they going to run out of money and everybody's going to be canned just down the line? You kind of have to be a little bit more careful with jobs like that. And my final tip, number 10, is bad gut feelings. I'm a believer of intuition, and my gut has never lied to me. Every time I have said yes to something that I had a bad gut feeling about, I have regretted it when it comes to my jobs. It has come back to haunt me time and time again. So I encourage others to trust that gut. If something doesn't sound right and you don't like it, or something that you've listened to doesn't sit right with you, then listen to that. I hope you've enjoyed these red flags. If I missed any, let me know in the comment section below. If you want me to go into details about any of them in particular, please do let me know. As always, I hope that you're safe, and thank you, and I'll see you again in a video soon.